Hey, so today I want to talk about failure and what is actually the secret to success. Everyone's trying to define success and what makes someone successful. And so today I wanted to talk about the importance of failure and the true secret to success. So in my first book, I shared my struggles with overcoming fear. I believe that fear is evident with so many different people. Fear is what stops us from acting. It stops us from moving towards our dreams and creating the life that we want. Whether it's a business or creating time freedom, location freedom, whatever the case is, fear is always that thing that keeps us from moving. So I propose that the secret to success is failure, because the fear of failure is what keeps us from moving. And so we have to act and actually overcome that fear and actually fail to succeed. If you ask or inquire to any of the most successful people that exist or existed for that matter, they'll all say the same thing about failure. All didn't hit success like in their first try. Life is about failing and learning from that failure. But first you have to overcome the fear of failure. And so what does that look like for you? How do you define failure, and how can you move past that fear of failing? Because so many of us let that stop us from being successful and acting and moving. So in my third book, I actually wrote a children's book called The Fearless Muscle. And with that book, it's the concept of fear being a muscle and something that has to be worked. So even with failure, it's something that once you've done it a few times, it becomes easier. It's like a muscle and that needs to be worked. And so in that book, I talk about how it is important for us to work that muscle, because once we do it, that first time, it hurts. That second time, it's easier. But then the third time, it's like, okay, this is just par for the course. And that's what's going to get you to success. I just finished writing my fourth book, and it's about the concept of the secret of success being failure. Because I don't think that people understand that failure is just part of the journey. I think that we have a lot of books out there about principles that are going to help us be successful in our journey, but we have to also understand that failure is just part of the journey as well, because sometimes we allow the failure to deter us from our path, that path to our purpose, that path to our vision for ourselves, that path to living an increased life. And that is part of the path. I think that we need to start celebrating it. Not that failure is the goal, because failure is not the goal, but realizing that failure is part of the journey, and that's okay. And so when that happens, when failure happens, because it's almost inevitable that we continue down the path of which we're trying to go. Whatever that is, that looks different for everyone. So I want to ask you a question. What does failure look like to you? And I want to ask you another question. If that failure came to fruition for you, would your world end? Because what's important to me is that everyone lives in their passion. I think that is so important, that everyone has the opportunity to live passionately. Because if we live passionately, if we live in our passion, then that raises the consciousness of this planet. It really, really does. And that's why I'm so passionate about others living in their passion as well. And I think that's why it's so important to overcome the fear of failure, because that's what's stopping people from acting and moving in their passion. I've said this in a previous video. If we could raise the consciousness of this planet, if everyone was vibrating at a higher level and everyone was happy and living in their passion, then this whole planet would look so different. And like I said before, you know, road rage would not exist. As I'm driving right now, road rage would not exist. People would treat each other with more compassion and love and caring. The whole world, this whole existence would be completely different if everyone lived passionately. And that's why it's so important to do that and to act and to move towards your dream and what you're passionate about. And so as I arrive at my destination, I want to leave you with two things. If you're interested in teaching your children about living fearlessly and being more passionate about life, I would invite you to check out my book, The Fearless Muscle, which is about a little girl who's about 10 years old, who is overcoming her fear. And she learns how to overcome her fear by exercising her fearless muscle. And I think that's important, not only for children to learn, but as adults, that's important for us to learn as well. So I also want to share with you my other book, The Secret to Success, Leveraging Failure to Be Successful. And it's all about leveraging failure and being okay with failure and knowing that that's going to lead you to living in your passion and lead you to success. Failure is just part of the journey. And so it's overcoming that fear of it and embracing it. How I live my life is that I am a big proponent for overcoming fear, living passionately, and helping others to live passionately as well. And so that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed riding with me. And until the next video, peace.